Okay, assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Abhishek Edi, and in this recording, I would like to present to you my reading report of CDA 2. Let's start off with the definition of CDA and CDS. Critical discourse analysis explore the connection between the use of language and the social political context in which it occurs. Explores issues such as gender, density, cultural difference, ideology, and identity, how these are both constructed and reflects in text. It also investigates way in which language constructs and structured by social relationship. Critical analysis may include a detailed textual analysis and move from there to an explanation and interpretation of the analysis. It might proceed from there to deconstruct and challenge the text being examined. This may include tracing underlying ideologies from the linguistic features of text, unpacking particular biases and ideological preposition underlying the text, and relating the text to other texts and to people, experience, and beliefs. While we have been using CDA up to now in this instruction, we must know briefly that some scholars have begun to use acronyms CDS for critical discourse studies for various reasons, such as to denote expansion of CDA to a larger transdisciplinary or cross-disciplinary research domain, and or to convey a rejection of language or language-based analysis and its major focus. Means that CDS has recently replaced CDA for some, but not all, major scholars in the field in their most recent publication. This means CDS has recently replaced CDA for some reason. As we will see, many of the statements in this opening statement, and not just the issue of CDA versus CDS, are highly contested, not only by those who had sometimes very strong critics of CDA and CDS, but also by those who practice it. There are many different approaches to CDA or CDS, and not all the adherents agree with others on basic questions or even recognize as their affinity with each other. As said above, scholars differ on whether or not language or linguistics should be central, and as a result, some bring in semiotic and multimodal approaches which deal with the meaning potential of modes beside language and analyze them differently. Furthermore, scholars differ in their definition of the terminology they use. Example: discourse, critical, and context. There are three examples of CDA studies, and the first one is the Fabricating the American Dream in U.S. Media Portrayals for Syrian Refugees, Discourse Analytical Studies by Bhatia and Jenks in 2018. And this is the first example by two associate professors of English from Hong Kong Polytechnic University, Aditi Bhatia and Principal G. Jenks, and investigate media portrayals of refugees within the context of the American Dream, and argues that the political climate in the era of President Trump of the U.S. from 2017 until 2020 demands a new understanding of how the refugee construct is connected vis-a-vis the political rhetoric of the Trump's administration, as well as the Syrian refugee crisis. And the author analyzed opinion editorial and new pieces from American mainstream media, as well as independent news sources from both liberal and conservative perspective. Selected data focuses on Syria refugees or refuge and the context of Syrian war, and is examined in terms of first one is historicity. Example as how events are constructualized based on how participants connect action to the past. Second one is linguistic and semiotic action. For example, conceptualization of the world via critical metaphor analysis. And the third is social impact. And examples are the example is the characterization people according to the way they are represented in the text. Next, next example is traces of neoliberalism in English teaching materials, critical discourse analysis by Babai and Sheikhi in 2018. The study by Asman Babai, an associate professor of applied linguistics at Kharazmi University in Iran, and Muhammad Sheikhi, who has an MA in teaching English as a foreign language, is one of many CDA or CDS articles that take up fair law, expose neoliberal ideologies, and fight back against them. Here they study those terminology as manifested in English language. Their findings explore language examples that convey high value placed on competition among individuals, hypothetical scenarios that give importance to economic concerns over healthcare and well-being, and that is in highlighting a cosmopolitan and globalized world. And English speakers are valued over non-English speakers, and Anglo-American culture or locations are shown in more positive ways and are advocated for Eastern ones. Last example is the selfie as a global discourse by Voom and Undrum in 2018. And this final example of recent CDA and CD's work by Aslak Voom and Associate Professor in Text and Communication Studies at University College of Southeast Norway, and Linda Victoria Mullen Undrum in 2018, who holds a master's degree in Text and Communication Studies in Critical Multimodal Discourse and Analysis of Meaning Making, as it first the true digital selfies portrait known as self-portraits known as selfies. Utilizing CDA and CDS, social semiotics and multimodality, and drawing on a number of scholars and from these areas, the author examines the meaning potential of the selfies with regard of Halliday's 1984 metafunctions of language. With a corpus of 100 selfies published on Instagram, the author examined interaction with viewers via gaze and camera shot or angle, whether the person was represented within the contextualized settings and as performing an action or not, whether or not the image is apparently to be digitally edited. Okay, I think that's all for my explanation for CDA 2. Thank you for your attention. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Have a great night.